Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'll be walking you through on how to sew a straight skirt. Kindly help me like the video, and if this is your first time on my channel, kindly help me subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified when I drop amazing content like this one. Thank you. So this is the fabric we'll be using to sew our straight skirts, and this is our pattern. I've done video on how to cut this straight skirt. You can check on my channel in case you'll be needing to cut yours. So the next thing we'll be doing is to place our pattern on my fabric. So after placing my pattern on my fabric, I'll be leaving 1.5 inches at the down part of my skirt, which will be for our folding in of our skirt. Then after that, I'll come up to my skirt's upper parts. I'll be adding half inches, which is going to be 7 as our sewing allowance because I didn't add it in the pattern. So after that, from the side of my skirt, from the side like this, I'll cuff it down a little bit. I'll cuff it to join my middle parts like this. I'll be cuffing it like this because I can't leave it straight. If it is too straight, it won't relax well on me. It will just be somehow after wearing it. So I'll just cuff it there like that. Then after that, I'll be using my scissors to cut it out, and I'll cut it out like this. So after cutting it out, I'll just go to the upper part of my skirt, and then I'll notch out my dart area. I'll notch it out like this, as you can see. Don't notch it too much, just a little. I'll just notch it. Then after notching it, I'll just put my front part aside and then fold my fabric again. I'll fold it like this again to cut out my back parts. So after folding my fabric, I'll be placing my back pattern on my fabric like this. I'm trying to manage my fabric, as you can see. So I'll be adding the same 1.5 inches which I added at the front part. I'll be adding it on my back part too, like this. I'll measure 1.5 inches there. Then I'll go over to my upper part too. I'll measure half inches like I did at the front part. I'll measure half inches like that. Measure half inches. Then I'll use my chalk to make a curve to join the center part of my back. Then I'll cut it out like this too, as I did at the front parts. So after cutting it out, I'll put my remaining fabric aside and also notch out my dart area on my back pattern. So I'll notch it out like this. You place your pattern on it very well, don't make it smooth. Then after that, I'll open the back part, which is for our zipper allowance. I'll open it up like that. After opening it up, then I'll measure what I have on my zipper allowance. So after measuring it, I got 1.5 inches, which is for our zipper allowance. So after measuring it like that, I'll measure that same 1.5 inches on my fabric. I'll measure the 1.5 inches on my fabric like this. I'll measure it all the way from the upper part of my skirt down to my skirt length, 1.5 inches. So after marking it out like that on my fabric, I'll use my pin to pin it down like this before taking it to the machine to sew. So I'm going to pin it down to my skirt length like this and then take it to the machine to sew. So this is how it came out after sewing it. Then I'll begin to remove all the pins from my fabric. I'll remove the pins there and then open it up like this. As you can see, you open it up, can you see? So after opening it up, I'll go to my dart area and then fold it like this. I'll fold the part which I notch for my dart. I'll fold it like this, and then use my pin, my office pin, to hold it, to pin it down like this. So after pinning it down like this, I'm going to measure my darts. I'll be taking my dart length. So I'll take my back pattern and measure whatever I have on my darts, the length. I'll measure it. So this is it. I have 5 there. So I'll measure that same 5 for my dart length. I'll measure that same 5 there like this. And then from the parts which I notch, I'll join the 5 inches to that part which I notch. I'll join it like that. So I'll be doing the other side too, like this. I'll fold the part which I notch for my dart. I'll fold it like this, and then use my pin to hold it down like this. So after pinning it down, I'll be taking my dart length on this side too. I'll be measuring 5 inches. I'll mark it there, and also use my chalk to join the parts which I notch at the upper part. I'll join it like that, and then I'll take it to my machine to sew. So this is how it came out after sewing it. This is it. So this is how it came out after sewing it. I'll open it up for you guys to see very well. So I sew it. So I've gone ahead to do the same thing for my front parts, just as I did at the back parts. I've done the same thing at the front parts too. So after that, I'll be placing my front parts on my back parts, and then use my pin to pin it down. I'll be pinning the first side, I'll pin the other side down, so I'll be able to take my measurements. So this is it. Then I'll flip it to the other side to take my measurements. So after that, I'll be taking my hip round measurements. My hips is 38 divided by 4. That will give us 9.5 inches. I'll divide it by 4 to give us 9.5. Then after dividing it, I'll be taking my hip line measurements. For my hip line measurements, I used 8, so plus the half inches which I added for the sewing allowance, that will give us 8.5. Then I'll measure that 9.5 on the 8.5 I marked. I'll measure 9.5 there like this. Then I'll go over to my waist. I'll be taking my waist measurements. My waist, I'm using 30 inches. 30 divided by 4, that will give us 7.5. Then I'll mark the 7.5 there too. Then I'll join the points which I made from my hip to my waist. I'll join it all the way down to my skirt length like this. I'll join it down like this, as you can see. So after that, I'll take it to my machine and then sew. So this is how it is after sewing it. Then I'll flip it to the other side to take the other side measurements. So I'll measure that 8.5 which I took at the first side, and take that same 8.5 there, and then take my hip round measurements. You know, my hips is 38 divided by 4, that gives us 9.5. But this one, we won't divide it by 4, we'll divide it by 2, so that will give us 18 inches. Then I'll measure that 18 inches on the 8.5 and then mark it there. So after that, I'll go over to my waist too. I'll be taking my waist measurements. My waist is 30, but for this one I'll divide it by 2. That will give us 15 inches. Then I'll mark that 15 inches on my waist like this. I'll mark it like this. Then I'll join the points together all the way from my waist to my hips to my skirt length. I'll join it like this. I'll also go ahead and sew it just as I sew the other side. I'll sew it like this. So this is how it came out after sewing it. So after that, I'll be removing all the pins that is on the fabric. I'll be removing it. So after removing the pins, I'll flip it to the other side. As you can see, it came out nice. Then I'll measure my waist round together with my zipper allowance. I'll measure it round like this, so we'll be able to make our band. So I'll measure it round like this. So after measuring the waist round, I got 33 inches. So I'll be measuring that 33 inches on my remaining fabric. I'll measure 33 inches like this. After measuring it, I'll notch it like this and then fold it into two. I'll fold the fabric into two like this. So after that, the next thing we'll be doing is to take our band wideness. So for my band, I'll be using 1.5 inches for the wideness. So together with the front and back, that's 3 inches. So I'll be adding extra 1.5 inches for the sewing allowance. So I'll measure 4.5 inches like that for my wideness. So after that, I'll cut it out like this. After cutting it out, I'll be taking my paper stay and also cut exactly the same thing out from my paper stay like this. So this is our fabric and also this is our stay. The next thing we'll be doing is to iron our band. So I'll be going over to iron my band. So this is how we are going to iron our band. The first thing we'll be doing is to place our paper stay on the fabric. Then I'll iron it like this. I'll iron my paper stay on the fabric like this. So after ironing it, I'll be folding half inches in. I'll fold half inches like this. So after folding half inches at the first side, then I'll fold in 1.5 inches, which is my exact band measurements. 1.5 inches like this. I'll iron it and then iron it to the length of my band like this. So I'll iron 1.5 inches like this. So after I'm done ironing it like this, then I'll come to the down part. As you can see, I'll fold it in. So I'll make it longer than the normal length for my band like this. I'll fold it in. So that long one will be for my sewing allowance. Like, after sewing it, the one that will comes out that I'll be sewing my band on, that will be for it. Then I'll iron it all the way down like this. I'll iron it like that. So after doing all the ironing like that, the next thing we'll be doing is to sew our band on our main fabric. So the smaller parts, that is the one I'll be placing on my fabric, which is my front part. I'll be placing it on my front part like this. Then I'll use my pin to pin it down all the way around my skirts. I'll pin it down like this to the end of my round waist, and then I'll go to my machine to sew it. So this is how it came out after sewing it. As you can see, I sew it round like that. So the next thing we'll be doing is to fix our zip. We'll be fixing our zip. So I'll be folding my band parts like that and then measure my zip length. So for my zip length, I'm using 9 inches. It's supposed to be 7.5, but I measured it from my band, so that made it 9 inches. So after that, I'll be placing my zip on it like this and then use my pin to pin it down, so it will be easy for me to sew when I get to the machine. We used 1.5 inches for the sewing allowance, so I'll be following that 1.5 inches which I joined. I'll follow that 1.5 inches all the way to the band tip. So I'll follow it like that. I'll follow the 1.5 inches. Can you see that the line is still showing there? So that is what I'm going to follow, and then pin it down. So after pinning this first part, so I'll be pinning the other part of the zip to my other side of fabric. I'll be pinning it down like that too. And after pinning it down like that, I'll take it to the machine to sew. So this is how it came out after sewing it. Can you see it's nice? It came out really nice. So I'll just open it up like that. This particular part, you need to pay good attention to it. So I'll be folding my zip like this. I'll fold it in, and then the other part of the band side, I'll fold it on it like this. I'll fold it on it like this, and then use my pin to pin it down. There are different ways of sewing the edge of your zipper parts, but I don't want the zip to be showing at the edge, so that's the reason why I'll be doing it this way. So the same way I did the first one, I'll be doing the second one. So I'll fold it in like this, and then use the other side of the fabric on it like this, and then pin it down. So I'll pin it down like this. You need to be careful, and then after pinning it down, I'll take it to the machine and then sew both sides. I'll sew the first side like that, and then I'll sew the other side too. So this is the outcome. Can you see? So after sewing it like that, you just turn it in like this. As you can see, it's very neat. Just turn it in, and then you do the other side too. You turn it in. You remove your pin. Don't forget to remove your pin. You remove it. So I'll just zip it up for you guys to see. So can you see? Can you see the zip is not showing outside? So this is what I mean by not showing. So after that, the next thing we'll be doing is to sew my band round. I'll just sew it round. I'll be sewing it on top of the little allowance which I left at the down parts when I was ironing. So that's what I'll be sewing that front part on. I'll just sew it round like that. So after sewing it, this is how it came out. Can you see? It came out nice. If you look at the front part too is very neat. So this is it for our band. So that is it for how we'll do our band and fix our zip parts. So after that, the next thing we'll be doing is to fold the down part of our skirts. We left 1.5 inches for the folding of our skirts, so I'll remeasure that 1.5 inches there. I'll remeasure it and then fold it in. I'll fold it in and sew it round. So I'll be taking it to my machine to sew. This is it after sewing. This is it. As you can see, it's very neat. So this is it after sewing. That is it, and here we're done. The next thing we'll be doing is just to iron it. To make it look very neat and nice. And here we'll come to the end of this tutorial. If you have any question from me, you can ask me in the comment section. Thanks for always watching my video. Help me like, share, comment and subscribe. Bye.